this meeting to order. Stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let the record show that Director Forty is absent this evening. And we'll go on to principal and student rep information. We'll start with the girls. Malia?
Our Thanksgiving break starts on Thursday, and then we end up going back on Monday.
And boys have a hockey game at the Hippodrome at 7:30 against Greenway.
Thank you. Mrs. Siebel?
Winter sports, with the exception of boys swimming, which hasn't started yet, are all up and running. This year with Life Touch doing our activity and sports photos, they schedule them all on the same date, which is a change from coaches having to schedule them on their own years past. So we did the winter activity and sports photos last week, which was too early because teams weren't ready to go yet. We didn't have rosters, and boys swimming hadn't started yet. So for the most part, those winter photos are done. We will catch boys swimming later in December. We had our winter band and choir concert last week on Thursday. I think the snow kept some people away. It was fairly poorly attended, but our band is big this year, so maybe it's just that all the kids are on the stage. Choir has doubled in size as well. So, our orchestra concert is on December 2nd, and that is a 5 through 12 concert. So that is all students. She already said we have Thanksgiving break. Second semester schedules for senior high students will go out the week after Thanksgiving, and they have until Christmas break to make schedule changes. The official deadline is the first week of school, but we really like to have all of that taken care of before the semester actually starts. So we're already preparing for second semester, which is really only 5 school weeks away, which is incredible. On December 8th of this year, Mrs. Forsman will travel to tour UMD and St. Scholastica with some 10th and 11th grade students. Virginia is hosting a bus, and they've invited us to go along. They've got a Perkins mini grant, so we try and pair up schools when schools get those grants to go on these college and career planning trips. And then next Friday, the curling club here in town is hosting Curl Night in America. I think that's what it's called. It's a big event. NBC is here to tape it. They have invited some of our students to come and view during the day. So Liz Beyondich, who is one of our Phy-Ed and health teachers, will take a group of students over for a few hours in the morning that day to participate in it. That's all.
Thank you. Mr. Hay?
As mentioned, the orchestra concert is actually in Gilbert this year for the 5 through 12. It's December 2nd at 7 o'clock. Junior high band and choir have their concert December 8th at 7 o'clock in Gilbert. That's a Tuesday. 5th grade and 6th grade have been working on some basic coding things with the computers, with the B-bots with the 5th grades, and the robot, the Neo, that we received last year through that grant with the 6th grade. There's also December 7th through 13th is it's the National Computer Science Education Week, and with that, Lee Zika has introduced Hour of Code, which is a program for teachers to go through with their kids. It's kind of an extra thing, trying to get kids into basic coding. So we have a lot going on with computer coding at our school. We also have started a career and college club for the 7th and 8th grade with our counselor, Brandy. There's 16 kids in it, and they explore different careers, different colleges, which colleges are strongest with which careers, things like that. They meet about once a week. That's about it.
Thank you. Mr. Carey?
A couple things here. One, we had a book fair last week in Franklin, and it was a good success. And just wanted to thank all the people that came to help. PTO obviously runs that. Our holiday concert is on December 11th during the day. And I guess finally, to piggyback off what Ms. Sebo said about the curling, our 4th grade is going to view that event as well over at the curling club on the 4th at 9 o'clock in the morning. It's on ABC.
Very cool. Thank you. 5.0, agenda changes and deletions.
I don't have any, Madam Chair.
Thank you. 6.0, visitor input. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to address the board?
Stand up here.
Yes. And please identify yourself for the audience.
My name is Angie Garland. My daughter Callie is on the Nordic ski team, as well as most of these kids here and some of the parents. We went through an issue last year where we did not have transportation for them in the beginning of the year. After some emails and some communications, we finally were able to get that approved last year. And now we're in the same boat again. And it's very frustrating because we've had a full year to come up with a solution. These kids got told through the bulletin the first 2 days, go to Gilbert. The Virginia bus will stop and pick you up. They got left there. So no ride to Giants Ridge. We had a couple junior students who have their driver's license and loaded their cars up with our kids in their cars and drove them to Giants Ridge. This is not okay. It is a huge liability issue. If those kids got in a car accident, if my daughter got killed riding in a car accident with somebody else, I'd be livid. And I would be looking at you guys. What else am I missing? Yeah, I guess I've been in touch with Superintendent Carey. I've been in touch with Michael Peterson. I've been in touch with Ms. Sebo and Mr. Thorson. And we don't have drivers, we don't have buses, we don't have money to pay the greedy school district that wants the money. I just feel like, why do we pay the same fee for this sport and get no transportation, as well as soccer, hockey, golf? If you can't provide these services, why offer the program? It's a great... Last year was my daughter's first year in skiing. She played basketball for Evels Gilbert since kindergarten. And I won't get her to play basketball again. If I have to quit my job and drive her to work, or drive her to skiing, boy, that's gonna suck, because lots of other stuff is gonna suffer. But I would do it for her, because she loves it. As do all these other kids that are here training. They use it for cross training, for cross country, for track, for all these other sports that we support. I just feel like we pay the same amount of money for our fees that other sports do. They get transportation to their games. I believe Mesabi East provides the transportation to the meets, so that's not an issue. It's practice 5 days a week. Okay.
Thank you. 7.0, approve the agenda.
Support.
Young and Gentilini. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. 8.0, approve the minutes of the regular meeting of Monday, November 9, 2015.
I'll move. Support.
Peterson and Shanlob. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. 9. All right. One abstention, Kathy. Director Young. Thank you. 9.0, Business Office Affairs. 9.1, approve the treasurer's report for the second check writing in November.
What we have for the second week of November is disbursements of $305,895.47. I make a motion to approve the treasurer's report.
Support.
Shanlob and Young. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. 9.2, approve trade-in of bus number 3.
If you remember back last spring, we approved the purchase of a new bus. That bus is now here. We determined at that time that bus number 3 was the one that was going to come out of the rotation. It's a 98 Thomas. It is very rusty and will need to be reskinned at a cost of about $9,000 to $10,000, and we just didn't feel it was. It's not something that we need right now, and we don't have anywhere to put it indoors. So we're just gonna. I mean, obviously at $2,000, it's.
You're better off not doing it because everything else is probably all rusted underneath the frame and
Yeah,
everything.
it's
not.
it's a mess. So we're gonna let her go.
That's a good idea.
And then later on tonight, I'm also going to suggest that we've put together an inventory of our vehicle fleet, and I think we need to sit down and make a rotation so we have some type of idea of when these things come up and what's coming and what's going, because we're kind of have a history of just kind of going by the seat of our pants. One of them rusts out and we decide we need a new one, we'd go with that. But we need to, for budgetary purposes, we need to come up with some type of rotation as to what we need to replace and what we don't. So. But anyway, the reason that this is on the agenda is we did not approve a trade-in at the time that we approved the sale of the bus. So. And being that it is a fixed asset, the board needs to approve us getting rid of that. So.
We have the new bus already delivered?
It just came last week.
Okay, would it be advisable to check in and see if we could undercoat this new bus?
The new
before
bus?
we put it into service? And that should prevent it from rusting out at an early age. I don't know what the cost would be, but maybe it might be worth looking into.
It's not really, well, I mean, I shouldn't say that. It could prevent a lot of problems that we have. But one of the major problems we have is the skins on them. I mean, the outside, they just rust through. And as soon as you can see a hole through, if you can see through a hole, it's not roadworthy anymore, according to the DOT. But yeah, I mean, it is something to look into. We can look into that.
Can we get a motion, please?
I'll make a motion that we trade in this number 3 bus on the purchase of the new 72 passenger Bluebird.
Support.
Young and Gentilini. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. 10.0 Personnel, 10.1 Approved Paraprofessional A Appointment of Lane Skoglund.
This is a replacement position. However, it is a fluctuating hours per day position because the student in question has varying hours. So we're going to start with, I guess if Mr. Hake has anything different to say about it, we're going to start at 3 hours a day here, but we could very well be.
2 days a week. It may end up being more than that.
Yeah.
Depending on what happens at the meeting we're having tomorrow night. So, but 3 days a week, it should be 3 hours a day, and this week it's 3 hours a day for all 3 days. After that, it may increase to 5 or so.
I guess I'm just giving you a heads up that this issue, this particular position might be back on the agenda at some time in the future.
Well, what if we were just to make the motion to, if the meeting results in extra hours and needed, just make it in the motion as needed?
I wouldn't want to put the board in a position where they are doing as needed open-ended questions. So we'll leave her here for now.
I'll make a motion on the 10.1, the appointment of Lenny Scoglin for the hours stated, 3 hours a day, contract 15.29, and as 3 days a week, 3 hours a day. And if we have to come back, then we do.
It's going to be 5 days a
It'll
week.
be 5 days.
5 days a week?
3
Okay,
hours a
sorry.
day.
I'll support that.
Young and Shanlab. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Nay. $10.2 Approved Paraprofessional A Appointment Bretta Albrecht.
This is a position in the Franklin. We decided not to try to alleviate large numbers in the elementary special ed room by putting an aide in there. rather than splitting it and hiring another teacher. So this is a new position. We've been trying it out. It's been going pretty well, so we're gonna go with that. And the Bretta is a current. She's been with us. She's just moving.
So if this is a new position, this is not in the budget, correct? Or is this reimbursable?
It's special ed,
Is
yeah.
okay, that's right. Okay.
I'll move.
Support.
Hutzel and Young. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. 10.3, approve lane change for Janine Bauman.
She's done the necessary credits within her program to go from a BA 30 to a BA 40.
So moved.
Support.
Shanlob and Young. Any further discussion?
Did we just have a lane change for her not too long ago?
This spring, yeah. She's in a program.
Okay. Just look from there. That's all.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. 11.0, new business. 11.1, discussion on ski transportation. Mr. Carey, we'll let you start. You can share what we should know about this before we go forward.
Well, I mean, it's, I know last year, for a long time, Virginia picked up the kids in Gilbert because it was part of the, they're obviously part of the cooperative. And last year they decided they wanted to charge us our share for that, and we didn't find out about it until the season started. And I know the board passed that at that time. Also at that time, we also said along with that we weren't going to be transporting our ski students anymore. Things happened this fall, and there was some bad communication to parents, and people were left with the impression that we were going to, and we're right back where we were last year. So.
Who made the communications with the parents?
Coaches.
Coaches?
And they aren't ours, correct? They're hired by other districts?
And then, I mean, there's some other things too. I mean, we thought we had an agreement with Mesabi East that they were going to come get them, and so then there was some renewed hope that there was going to be transportation, and that fell through. Just so I guess the point of discussion is: are we going to pay for the Virginia bus, or are we not going to? I know in the past you said you weren't going to.
My question is, when you're in this joint program, who do you pay your fees to? Public Gilbert? And is that the same as most of the other? Same for everything? Okay. And Virginia is the one who is pushing this because they refuse to pick up our kids? Is that the thing?
They wanted money for it, too. They didn't for a long time. Starting last year, they decided they wanted.
Maybe we should put a toll gate across 135.
And Virginia sponsors the Nordic, and Mesabi East does the Alpine, or is it the other way around? The other way around. Well, we didn't drop the ball, but we're the ones that are being made to look like the bad guys here. Because now we have to find the money to pay for transportation. I'm not against paying for the transportation. It's the mentality that other people make promises, they drop the ball, but it still comes back on us.
Well, and that's my kind of, I'm trying to understand this because we did this last year in, 26th hour? I mean, there's already kids left last year.
Just like this
here
year.
we are, it's like deja vu. I mean, I don't know why, I mean, quite honestly, I mean, this stuff should be already taken care of by our administration, our athletic director or our program people, and why is there board intervention after the fact? I mean,
Again,
right.
Well,
That's my frustration for the situation, if you
and
understand
I
what
understand
I'm...
it, but
I mean,
I guess from my perspective, I mean, you guys told me last year that this was it. We were doing this
Yep.
1 year,
right.
and I communicated that with everybody, and
Did we as a school communicate that? I mean, that's why, so why are we
well,
here then?
I am the representative of the school, so.
Right.
I know the conversation took place because I've had it
Right.
regurgitated back to me from people on one of the other boards that, they understood our position, but that was several months ago. That was not real something.
But it's just frustrating to hear that our kids are being left on the side of the road. I mean, for lack of a better way to say it, and
I don't like the idea of students transporting other students, and that
No.
was not sanctioned by us or encouraged. If that's a choice that they made, does not come back on the board, because that isn't something we were part of. This is not going to go away.
just the
And
transport.
every year, it's going to be the same game.
How much is the transportation cost?
It's gonna be between 2,000 and 3,000. Depends on the numbers, because there's a flat fee that they go with, and then a per participant fee.
Okay, and what do we take in for fees?
However many there are times 125.
So there's
Most of them are gonna be
14,
125.
15? 13? That's 1,300. And it costs 20,
25.
Probably 2,500.
top of 25. Either way you look at it, it's a losing proposition for somebody. But it shouldn't be for the kids.
I mean, I'll just say it. I mean, we should just do it, and
Include it in our budget.
we have to. But at the end of the day, it's like, why do we have to get here? That's 2 years in a row. I mean, does any other sport drop the ball like this? I mean, I don't understand it.
Right.
This is the most unique one because it's going to a location where we don't have any current buses going.
Well, I get it, but it's a lot of miscommunication
Yeah.
I guess, is what seems to be the problem. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I was fired up last year when I heard that the kids were waiting for the bus, and I'm fired up again this year that kids are waiting for the bus.
Well, I'll make a motion that we pay Virginia to transport these kids. But I seriously think we need to have a discussion about this long before the start of the next season.
With Virginia.
Well, with whomever we need to, because it's ridiculous. It's just,
I would.
But we shouldn't be holding
and I
the
don't know
kids
how to
ransom.
even word that to make it polite. But the fact of the matter is that we've had promises made to the board, to our administration, to the kids and their parents. And yet, when it hits the fan, we're the ones that are in the onions and orchids and in Facebook and everything else, that we did something wrong, and we weren't even in the middle of it to begin with. So I'll make a motion that we pay Virginia to transport these kids through the end of the season, with the understanding that this is to be resolved before the start of the next season, whatever that resolution might be.
Yeah,
I'll support you.
yeah,
I'll support it.
yeah.
That's Putzel and Peterson. Any further discussion?
I'd just like to add on that, I hope this doesn't come up again next year.
It will.
I know.
It should be resolved, though, with Virginia. I mean, it's ridiculous.
And
Or Mesabi East.
Or, well, both, I don't care who it is. As long as
accountability needs to be
But
solved.
we're not
Right.
we're not hosting.
It's supposed to be a
so-
cooperative program. They don't cooperate. Not when they're eliminating the transportation that they promised.
Well, let's put this to a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. 11.2, discussion on Director of Maintenance and Transportation.
Interviews were conducted on November 16th. We interviewed 2 individuals. We've also had a committee meeting in between to try to determine who's the best person for the position. And I guess it's in your court now.
I'll make a motion that we hire Randy Knowles.
Support.
That's how you spell his last name?
Yes.
Sound?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll support. For discussion.
Okay, that's Shanlob and Young.
I think it's something that I think after our committee meeting, I think we're both, all of us are kind of torn between both of the candidates that we've interviewed. Somewhat, there's good attributes to both of them. Also, there's negatives on both of them. And I think we have to go with someone who had more supervisory experience. That's why I'm supporting Randy Knowles. There's nothing wrong with the other candidate.
No,
I think he interviewed very well.
No, I have nothing against Mike either.
But that's where I'm coming from, so. Everybody else can
Anyone else?
voice their opinion.
I just like to say, I'm kind of at a crossroads, but I kind of agree with Keith. I think just the supervisory experience, background kind of put it over for me, and I would say that not knowing either candidate, they both, I thought, did well. The other candidate interviewed extremely well, but it was just, that's what I feel.
Anybody else? All right, the motion on the table is to put forth Randy Knowles' name as Director of Maintenance and Transportation, correct?
Yes.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I was unable to attend that meeting due to a clinic appointment at that day, so I will abstain because I was not in the interviewing process.
Okay. Just for clarification, let's do this again. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
No. 2 noes, 3 yes, 1 abstention.
Okay.
All right. 11.3, update on stakeholder meetings.
We invited Ryan Turner to come back and give the board an update.
Hey, Ryan.
Good evening. Thanks for having me back. Over the last few months, we've been moving forward with our process. Just to give a quick recap, as you know, we had done an assessment of the facilities and an educational adequacy review, and then moved into establishing guiding principles and goals. And then this latest phase was a number of listening sessions with stakeholders. We had, I want to say, somewhere in the neighborhood of 15 different stakeholder groups that we met with. And just in broad brush terms, I want to say we had some really great feedback. We had some great participation, and people were very open and willing to share ideas and thoughts and opinions. So I felt like they were very productive overall, I can say. From the youngest students to the most veteran staff members and board members alike, of course. It went really well, and we're really happy with the amount of feedback we got out of that. So moving forward, we're looking at putting together a program based on that information and the goals and the information we were given, so that we can start to look at some of the options that we had talked about during that guiding principles and goal setting session. So we'll be doing that next. And then coming back to the board with that program and those options with the next phase as we move forward. I'd like to sometime on a parallel track with that start to talk about the potential of some tours of facilities as well. So you can start to take a look at some of the some comparable examples to what we've talked about. So I'll be arranging those with Superintendent Carey also, and put forth some recommendations that way as well. Any questions about this latest phase or what we're doing moving forward?
Can I make a general comment about the listening sessions? I don't know how those, I understand, I think, if I correctly, that we hired DSDW to independently go and collect information from the public, stakeholders, lack of a better way. I mean, you did it on our behalf. We weren't really the participants of those listening sessions, right?
Correct. We facilitated those sessions.
Right.
No, we didn't have anybody from the staff, so to speak, there. It was
Right.
the SGW
You were the
that
facilitators.
was facilitating those, correct.
I mean, and the only thing I'm getting at is we had a person in the Gilbert City Council kind of grandstand that the sky was falling, the school's shutting down, we're moving things, I mean, all kinds of things. And she was invited either by us or by you guys to participate, and it seemed like she kind of got some misinformation on what those sessions were. And I would just caution going forward to the public that we really have no idea what direction we're going. That's why we're going through this process, to try to understand different suggestions and directions and input, and we have no idea what kind of things are going on. So I mean, if you want to piggyback to that.
Point well taken, and I absolutely agree with you, and I've tried to make that as clear as possible at the outset from these sessions that there haven't been any decisions made at this point, nor have we been told that there's a preference that you guys want us to look into. And so I've tried to make that as clear as I can at all of these sessions up front. I kind of explain the process, talk to folks about what we were hired to do, why they're there, why they were invited to participate, and that kind of thing. So I've heard some similar comments that when folks have I don't know, I guess talked outside the group, or whether there was a whatever misinformation is getting out there with every session. I've done my best to try to make sure that it's abundantly clear that just what you said. We're haven't made any decisions yet. We haven't made any recommendations yet. That we're gathering information right now, and as we move forward. So I hope that message is loud and clear to folks. And I've ended every session with the fact that I want to be open and available, and if folks have questions, comments, and want to get a hold of me, please do, so that there isn't any misinformation out there. My door's open. Please call, email me, whatever the case may be. I've made cards available, so I hope that there aren't any more instances like that in the future. If there are, please pass them on to me. Let me know. I'd be happy to talk to folks on your behalf.
Thanks. Yeah, I just want to clear that up, kind of how the public, for what's going on and how what's going on, and we're asking you.
I don't know who's making the comments that it's predetermined of what we're going to do. I mean, we've been open about that from the beginning, that we want to know what the community wants, and the community's got to step forward too.
But there's just, I mean, in this situation, there's certain people that they hear what they want to hear, and they, but for them to take it to a public platform like that and scream the sky is falling, I thought was distasteful. But I just wanted to address that, really what it is and what it is and what direction we're doing and what we're trying to do, and it is what it is, you know. I mean, so that's all. Thank you.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
And I think you've been very open when at least the meetings that I've been to. You've been very truthful, upfront, open, and also stating that people are going to determine this, of what feedback that we get from them. And we have to have the feedback. And you're collecting everything for us. So.
Well said.
I think you did a very good job.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Okay. We look forward to the next steps, and we'll be in touch.
Okay.
Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ryan.
12.0 committee reports, 12.1 committee of the whole from 11/16/15. Superintendent Carey, do you have a report on that?
Sure. We had two agenda items that night. One was the football scoreboard. We had a group that approached us a while back and wanted to look at the possibility of fundraising for a new scoreboard at the football field. So I and myself and Danette gathered some information, and we shared that with them that night. And the question was raised, should we be looking at a dual sport scoreboard for baseball and football? And they said they'd get back to me on that upon discussion with the baseball boosters, and they did that. And the word that I got today was that they were really interested in the football board now. So I passed that information on to them. They're meeting as we speak right now as to which direction they want to go and start making a plan. So that's kind of where that's at right now. And the other one was the board asked me to contact legal counsel to decide, to figure out if it was possible for them to rescind their baseball coaching hire. And the answer to that from our legal counsel is yes, we can. We can do that anytime there hasn't been a contract signed. I mean, you can. If he said in a case if there had been contract signed, then you're kind of stuck with it for the duration of that contract. So that's the answer to that question, and that would sum up what was discussed.
Okay. Well, as long as you're on the floor, we'll let you continue. 13.0 is superintendent's report.
Well, I have a few things for you tonight. One, we have to set up the December meeting. There's only one meeting in December. It is, I guess calendar-wise, it would normally fall on the 14th, but we can decide wherever else you want that if 14th doesn't work for us.
If it's the regular meeting, it should work out fine. Because we're already scheduled for the 14th, correct?
No,
Oh, we're not.
we don't schedule a July meeting and we don't schedule a
But
December
to look at a
meeting.
calendar,
But it would work,
fall on
but it would,
yes,
The 14th works for me.
works for me
Yeah.
too.
as for me.
It's fine for me.
Yeah. How about you, Tom?
Do you
14th?
want it a little closer to the end of
No,
the year, and that's fine?
That's fine.
Okay.
14th is fine.
Tom,
Okay, what is it?
14,
14?
December 14 for our December meeting.
Yeah, that's fine. What time?
5.
5 o'clock?
5?
All right, and then the other date that I want to get set, I have a pretty sizable list of things that we need to discuss in the near future here, and I'm just going to give you a general on a few of them. One, we still have $775 worth of money grant from the IRRB that we need to have spent by next October 1st, and we need a discussion on what exactly we want to do with that.
Say that number one more time?
I'm just giving you, it's a general number, it's $775,000.
That's all I was looking for.
Yeah.
Whatever that
Does it need to be spent or allocated for a project?
Spent,
It needs to be gone by then, okay.
or at least the bid's out, so they're working on it.
What was the date on that? Wait,
October 1st, 2016.
That's the only reason I asked, because I thought there was some just, it could be in process type thing by then or something, right?
The other thing, I want to invite Ryan back to a committee meeting so we can have a little deeper discussion on what he learned from his stakeholder info and what we're going to do with it. And along with that, next steps of where our plan is going. I want to talk about transportation. I spoke of that earlier when we were on the bus topic. I have a pretty good inventory of our fleet right now. And I want to share that with you, and we can start laying out when we need to buy stuff and when we could probably get away without it. I want to talk about our cooperative agreements with our academic cooperative agreements with neighboring schools and how those are working and how they're going to work in the future.
Academic ones, not athletics?
We can do athletics too if you'd like. And then I want to talk about our 16-17 planning, some parameters for that. I mean, because I'll be honest with you, it's we get, what is it, Andrea, about $350,000 from taconite production, and I don't think we're going to get that this year. So there's that, plus what we already are overspending. So we're going to have to make some pretty difficult decisions coming up before the budget cycle starts.
You're talking 15, 16, we
I'm
probably
talking
won't
about
get?
16, 17.
Oh, 16, 17. Because we're getting royalty money this
I'm
school
not
year.
talking about royalty money. This is.
Oh, you're
we-
talking
we
about
get
the production
We get
tax.
a nickel on every ton that goes out of here.
Oh, you're talking about just general production tax, okay.
And there's nothing moving.
Right, well,
There ain't too much going on the train right now.
nope.
So anyway, it's a pretty long meeting,
I'd like to have it, and
or you can cut it up,
we'll
whatever
work
you want to
something
do.
out before he hits me upside my head.
What?
I would like to see this meeting happen, or at least start earlier in the day, rather than starting it late.
Well,
I just think with this kind of a workload ahead of us,
Yeah.
I don't want to shortchange it, and I don't want it to go so late into the evening. I've reached an age where I appreciate retiring at a fairly early time.
Oh, I don't want to be here at
evening,
9:30 at night either.
so if we could start a little earlier in the day, at least consider an earlier start, I would appreciate
Would
it.
you want to have all from the last 5 items on a separate day from a regular meeting, or you want to bring it up at this December meeting? You want to set up a separate meeting, correct?
I would like to have a committee meeting on this stuff.
do you want a whole, or should we break some of these up into
Should be a-
committees? Like buildings and grounds for the IRRB money,
I
transportation?
think we're better off having a
Just do it.
committee.
I would like,
Kind of
Committee
turned
of the
into the
whole.
whole.
I guess,
Only because-
my thought behind it is I'd like to start with, if you just take that particular issue, I mean, I want to start with a broad idea of what we're going to do, and
Like
and
the
then
planning.
and then we can
Go
throw it into a smaller committee for specifics. But I mean, right now, we have no idea what we're going to do with that right now. I
With
mean,
what?
it's,
The IRRB money?
yeah,
Well, that's kind of,
we were
I
gonna,
think it was kind of, we kicked that can down the road because of
we were
this.
gonna build a bus garage, we didn't do that.
But
And maybe we decided we're gonna still, I mean, I don't know. But it's just a conversation that we need to have.
the SDW needs to
Well,
pick
prior-
up the pace.
Prior to the date of,
So we can see what we're doing, right?
prior to the date of that meeting, I would urge board members to contact you with questions or materials that they may want at that meeting. I mean, for example, with that, we would want to know what are the parameters for spending that. And I know we've been through this before, but just a brief paragraph explaining
Yeah.
the proper
What we
use
can
of
and
that
can't do,
money,
yes.
so that there's no misunderstanding as we sit there. And same thing with these other items, if there's something specific that would help clarify what we'd need to know as we make our decisions. Is that reasonable?
Well, guy, I think so.
You know,
Yeah,
and
we
then
should.
certainly if someone has a specific question for
Yeah.
him, but I think if we start with that, just a basic understanding of what each of these items entails.
Well, I mean,
I'd
just-
like to do it sooner rather than later so we can get going too.
absolutely.
Oh, the planning's happening, I mean, we gotta, yeah.
As a suggestion, I mean, could we start it off with, like, say, the DSDW, go into our planning thing, and
Yeah.
then just pick off down the line, depending on how the conversation goes? I mean, would that be a gooder
The gooder.
agenda strategy?
Let's look at,
Mike.
Speaking of that, perhaps we need to have a conversation about academics in our schools, and how about
Hey,
English?
the co-op academic is in there. I did that on purpose.
Okay, thank you. So we should set a meeting for within the next week or week and a half?
I could do next Monday. I could do any of the Mondays for coming up.
The 30th, we already
30th.
have a special meeting.
yeah,
Yeah.
30 stuff. Let's
What's that one for?
let's start on,
Taxation.
Oh, wait, now I looked. Mondays or Tuesdays are better.
Tuesdays.
December? Yeah. Or November.
Oh, who is this one?
Let's start on Thursday the
November
3rd, and we're gonna go from there.
I'm sorry, say again.
No,
We're gonna start on Thursday the 3rd, and we'll go from there. Does that work for
We
anybody?
have mediation that day.
No, you're right, 4th
It doesn't-
is a Friday. If we started earlier, it wouldn't be bad.
I mean, how, is everybody gonna participate? Because I would be more inclined to do a day thing, but that's the.
Well, and I said that simply because in the event that we're really on a roll and we need a little extra time, then if it goes a little longer, you don't feel so bad, but you don't want to make it long if you're starting too late.
Because honestly, I wouldn't like to do a Friday night. I mean, I would do a
no, I
Friday
prefer
day.
not to.
7th,
This time of year, I never know when
I
it's
can
gonna
do the
snow and
7th.
ice. That's the problem,
Can you do
too.
the 7th?
7th?
It's a Monday, if this happens.
Yeah.
Brian, how's the 7th look? 7th.
Does that work for
What time you
everybody?
wanna do it?
what time?
What works with your schedule?
Hey, I'm as flexible as Jim is now.
Well, not between 2:30 and
Ryan?
say 3:15, how does that sound?
We can always take a lunch break, so you can.
Well, I just have to get my kid.
Pick up
that's all.
Ashley, but-
Yeah.
Ryan, if we look at the 7th, is there a time of day that works best for you?
I could do it at any time.
All right.
Day or night?
2:30?
He's just
Keith,
laughing.
well, hang on. Keith, you're the only one who really has a conflict with work.
I'll be
Can you
here.
suggest a time that would be best for you?
You tell me when you want me to be here. I'll take the, if I have to, I'll take
You
the
wanna do
day
11
off.
o'clock? Where's that bad right before lunch?
You want to wait and do it right after, like 1?
1 o'clock?
1 o'clock, yeah.
No,
That can't work for you?
no. 2:30 is fine for me, but
To start at 2:30?
to start at 2:30.
It would have
See,
to be
that
after
starts to
3:30
get
then.
really late, yeah.
How about earlier in the morning?
Yeah,
9 o'clock?
9?
9's fine.
Must have ruined Keith's whole day.
Well, that's the point. I think if he's going to do it, he's going to do all of
If
it,
you're
right?
gonna do it, you might as
I'm
well
gonna
be
do the
all
whole day anyhow.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
9 o'clock.
9
All right,
o'clock.
9 o'clock on the
December
7th. You got that?
Yeah, you get to sleep in.
All right, then the last thing I have, I went to band choir concert. They both sound great. It was unfortunate there was bad weather that night, and I don't think a lot of people got there, but just kudos to the people in that department. They got those kids sounding wonderful. It was nice to hear. So that's all I have.
Right.
All right, board member topics. Mr. Gentilini?
The only thing I got is, I'm gonna get a hold of Tom Percent so I can straighten out that iPad of mine. Either that
I
or,
will. I'll take care of it, Tom.
okay.
Remind me to take care of that.
Mr. Peterson?
Kathy will take care of that for you, Tom. I just had two quick questions, I guess. I suppose it doesn't even need to be here now, but that last Lency payment from that project, I mean, were we going to discuss that? Is it paid? I mean, I guess I kind of fell off. Where is that at?
It was paid.
It is paid?
Yep.
And was there any penalties incurred?
Did we do any penalties?
There weren't any liquidated damages in the contract to be able to assess against them.
Oh, there wasn't.
No, liquidated damages were not part of the construction documents and part of the specifications, so you didn't have that option to be able to penalize them.
I
with
guess the
this.
better part of, I mean, just as a point of conversation, the better part of a year I've kind of asked, and that was what we said we had as a backup, and that was not true.
No, not for liquidated damages. However, we were withholding retainage
Right.
until the project was completed.
So there was
So
no
there was-
monetary penalty by any means on that project.
You were being able to withhold that 5% retainage, which we did until their contract was obligated, until they completed the final items. So
So
yes,
for them being a year and plus late,
Yeah.
there was no monetary penalties. They got dispersed. The
once
project was completed.
once their contract was completed, once they met all the obligations of their contract, yes.
I guess I was under the impression that there was a monetary penalty for them being over their allotted time.
That is what would be considered liquidated damages, which you didn't have in place. No, and like I described earlier, it's relatively rare to see that, because usually you end up having to include what I'll call a reward. If they finish early, you also pay they get a bonus, so to speak, for finishing a project early, which oftentimes isn't budgeted for. And another piece of the puzzle is if you have liquidated damages, it becomes really critical in terms of the documentation. Usually there's a certain number of days that are allowed for weather. There's a certain other caveats that kick in related to that. So it becomes very onerous to try to enforce that. And then usually it isn't done in the case of a school project. It's usually something we would see more often in a retail setting or in a situation where a hotel has rooms that are booked that they have to be open for. So I will say it's rare to see it in a school project.
I guess as a point of conversation, I mean, through these big projects where you have a contractor and you issue them a contract and it has start dates and finish dates, what's the purpose to have dates? I mean, if there's no penalty, and that I guess is what
Sure.
I'm kind of getting at. I mean, they were over a year late, and I mean, our students and our business was inconvenienced, and it was no skin off anybody other than.
They were out that 5% for the entire time.
But they
which,
got it.
Which is above and beyond the value of the work they had for the majority of that time. So that money was in your bank and not theirs.
But eventually it ended up in their bank, right?
Once they completed all obligations for their
That's-
contract,
alright.
yes. Yep.
All right, that's, and then I had, thank you.
Thank you.
Just want to bring up that we're getting to the end of the year, the whatever happened with the conversation with the superintendent evaluation. We met that one time and we never,
Put that on your list for the 7th too. How about that?
all right. I just thought we were going to move forward with that. All right.
We will know.
All right.
Good.
That's all I got.
Nothing, nothing.
And I'm good.
Motion to adjourn.
So moved.